Thanks, Dave. To follow on that,
Is this the first?
Yeah, this is our first exchange from the seat. You're right.
Hey, actually, this is your good side.
Thank you. I knew you had a one-liner. I thought it was a different one. But I actually moved to the left. So.
Yeah. Your left. It's very confusing.
You're right, I wanted to follow on Nora because if you basically have this Boehner plan that you say can't get through the Senate, and you've got a Reid plan that the Republicans don't think can get through the Senate or the House, and you're saying we want to compromise. What was the point of giving a primetime address to the nation without an Obama plan and say neither of these other plans can work?
I understand the idea that there is not an Obama plan is like
there's
point
not
number
one
one.
There's not one on paper.
Is point number one on the talking points issued by the Republican Party. I get it.
No, that's not a talking point.
No,
show us the plan.
Well,
it's not a talking point. That's unfair.
We have said from the beginning. First of all, the president put forward in detail his principles at George Washington University.
Right. That's not
quite a lot of detail. The president stood before you. I can't remember if you were here Friday night. Some of you weren't because you cut out early, but a lot of you were. And he put forward in detail, with numbers, what he's willing to do. He then referred from the podium to the fact that White House officials would be briefing in detail what our plan is. Now, the purpose of putting forward a plan on paper, our interest in this has been to get a compromise, to get a deal. It has not been to politically position ourselves, say, with things that appeal to our base, maybe pieces of legislations that we know can't pass, but it'll be, greeted warmly by certain constituencies. Our goal, and the reason why the negotiations have been conducted the way they have been conducted, is because we want a result. That's the way the president has, and it is simply not the case. The senior members of the House Republican leadership can open their desk drawer, pull out reams of paper that represent the president's proposals and his counter-proposals and his counter-proposals and his understanding that they need more of this and that he would like more of that. There is plenty of detail.
But even the president gave numbers on Friday night. White House aides were saying last night he was giving this speech to the nation because most Americans were not paying attention until last night. So even if he gave these numbers on Friday night, they have not, the American people were not paying attention Friday night by your own estimation. So why didn't he say last night, here are the 9 things that I support, here are the numbers, here's what I want to do on taxes, and just lay it out and say, call your congressman with this, not with this vague...
The point, the fact is, you address the nation only so often on prime time. The president has been out here with an unbelievable amount of regularity talking to you, talking to the American people throughout this process. He has put forward in great detail. If you guys haven't talked about it on the air or put it in your newspapers or online, then you should, because the detail is there. Secondly, he needed to talk to the American people last night because, for a good reason, because they have their own lives to worry about, and they count on Washington not always to take care of everything, but to take care of the big things, like making sure we don't default on our obligations. And he needed to talk to the American people, to those Americans who haven't been paying close attention, to let them know where this stands and why it's so important and why the risk is there that if Congress doesn't act, and we believe it will, something that has never happened before in our history could happen, and it would be very bad indeed. That's why he had to address the country and why he wanted to explain to them his view that compromise is so necessary.
One other quick thing. I think on CBS Radio this morning, Dan Pfeiffer said that if Congress does not act by August 2nd, this could lead to a depression. Is that your position, that we might have a depression in America?
You know what? Depression is what economic experts have said is that, and again, Republican and Democrat, Jim Baker, Ronald Reagan, all sorts have said that a default on our obligations would produce an economic calamity. How you define that obviously depends on how long it lasts and what the ongoing implications of that would be. We don't believe it's come to pass. Economic calamity is plenty scary, and we should not even entertain that.
But over the weekend, Democrats are saying there's going to be a Boehner drop if there's no action. Asian markets are going to crash on Sunday. It didn't happen. American markets didn't crash on Monday. Okay. Thankfully, they have not crashed on.
I want to move on, but you should go on the air and tell your viewers there's nothing to worry about. That's one approach. Chuck.
Jay, why not release the last offer that Boehner made to you? I said if you don't want to release your own plan, release that plan. If that's the deal, that's the last offer he made, and you guys are willing to go back with a few minor tweaks, release it.
Well,
It's the last week.
look,
Release it.
I'm not going to, look, we have shown a lot of leg on what we were proposing.
Where?
From the podium, right here, and from the Roosevelt Room. You could, certainly the Speaker of the House can address, or his people can address what they were, what their last offer was. They claimed that they
Why
walked away
should
from the
they
table
do it?
because of the $400
Why
billion.
not you do it? If they throw it out there, I mean,
The
you're.
president stood here, Chuck, again, I can't remember if you were here, it might have been Kristen, but the president stood here on Friday night and went into great detail. You should look at the transcript.
I've seen the
President's
transcript.
people
There's still
met with...
nothing out there. Why not just release that plan?
Is it because I mean, like, you need something printed for you, you can't write it down? There is ample
Jay,
detail.
It's not a plan.
No,
It's not
it
a plan.
is-
It was details of the plan, but it wasn't a plan the same way that we're getting a plan on the House side or that we're getting a plan on the
We
Senate
don't
side.
know what
It's
the
not.
Medicare thing is. We don't know what the Social Security part of this is. There wasn't. I mean, there was a lot of.
We talked in
missing
great
detail.
detail about what's in Medicare, and you know it.
Why not put it out there, though? You guys went
Look.
before the American people last night. And I know that you're probably getting frustrated because we're all asking a version of the same question. But you went before the American people last night and said, come, call your members of Congress and tell them we want a compromise. Well, you had a plan that you were making the case for, which sounded like a version of the compromise. Release it to the public. I mean, that's...
$1.5 to $1.7 trillion in agreed-upon domestic discretionary non-defense savings cuts. And on the most important stuff, the tough stuff, the stuff that makes it very hard for Democrats to do it, but they'd be willing to do it, important savings on entitlement reform.